But I turned 30 this week. It's just me today. Am I as much of an idiot as I think I am? So we're going to dive into this episode with 10 key life learning lessons. Life is too short to take things too damn seriously. Hey y'all, welcome to Meet the McBee's, Building a Dynasty, powered by Ag America Media. Today, it's just me. I'm solo in the podcast room, and there's some big news going on. This week, I hit 30 years old. So this podcast is going to be about life lessons I have learned up until this point, now that I'm approaching 30, and what my plans are for my next 30 years. Thank Tim McGraw for coming out with this song back when I was 6 or 7 years old. Although now, as I'm a few days away from turning 30, it's not as much fun. But guys, new Meet the McBee's episodes drop every Tuesday on YouTube and every other audio podcast listening platform. If you like this show, please subscribe to it, share the news, share it with friends, tell them to come join. We've got plenty more episodes on the way. So saddle up and let's get down and dirty with it. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. It's just me today. Cole's stuck in a combine. Jesse and my dad are finishing up one of our car washes, so I needed to get this episode filmed. So what are we going to talk about? Just being me, I've actually got something coming up this week, and by the time this episode is released, it'll already be past that date. But I turned 30 this week, and I thought it'd be a good moment to reflect on 30 years of life up to this point, the things that I've learned, the things that I look forward to doing over my next 30 years. And so this episode is going to be titled, In My Next 30 Years. It's one of my favorite songs of all time. Tim McGraw came out with a song, I think it was 1999, 2000, and it's wild because I vividly remember listening to that song riding around with my dad, and at the time he was turning 30 the same year this song was released, and I remember him jamming out to it, and me thinking to myself, I was, 7 years old at the time, 6 or 7 years old, and I just remember thinking, man, 30 seems so old. Like, once I'm 30, my life is over, and in the blink of an eye, here I am staring down that next decade of my life. September 21st is my birthday, and I think that there's just a lot of good experiences that I can share. And hell, let's be honest, this podcast is more for me than anyone else. I think it's a good timepiece, a timestamp on this date going into my last year or my last week of being in my 20s. And it's something that I'll be able to reflect on and 5-10 years from now, go back and listen to this time in my life, this point in my life, and see, am I as much of an idiot as I think I am currently standing here today? And so I think that there's some good lessons that I have that y'all may be able to apply to yourselves, whether you're younger than me, older than me. Hopefully, if you're younger than me, then I may have some advice or wisdom to share, more so of what not to do than what to do, because at this point in my life, I still feel like I have yet to complete any portion of my own potential and what I think is possible for my own life. And it doesn't mean I'm giving up. I'm far from it. In fact, I hope this next decade of my life brings about a lot of fulfilled potential in a way that I think my life can be in the standards that I uphold for myself. And so I think I'll start off this episode by quoting Tim McGraw lyrics. It says, I think I'll take a moment to celebrate my age, the ending of an era and the turning of a page. Now it's time to focus in on where I go from here. Lord have mercy on my next 30 years. What a banger. That's a damn good song. And so we're going to dive into this episode with 10 key life learning lessons I have learned myself at pretty much 30 years old, or will be 30 years old by the time this episode is released. Number 1, create a lifestyle, not an income. I have had this wrong for so long, up until the last year in my life. The way I created my goals, the way I intentionally went about setting up my vision board, my 5-10-year plan, it was all based on income first. And over the last year and a half, I've realized I've given up so much of what I value in life and what I enjoy chasing in income, when the actual income required to live the life I want to live is not, in the grand scheme of things, isn't substantially more than what I'm making right now. So for me, if I was to create a lifestyle of what I want my dream life to look like, It would be every single day having the opportunity to work out for 2 hours a day, having the opportunity to work in an industry that I loved. I've never been scared of hard work, never been scared of working long hours, as long as it's doing something that I feel worthwhile in. So creating high-quality meat sticks, creating high-quality meat products, that's my passion. That's where I want to spend the rest of my life. And from an income standpoint, I was looking at things and thinking to myself, if I was to do everything I wanted to do and have everything I could ever want, what is that income potential? And for me, that's around $500,000. If I was to make $500,000, from there, my quality of life doesn't really improve with additional supplemental income. So if I was making $500,000, $500,000 a year, or $10 million a year, my life does not substantially change. So why would I ever create the income as the first goal, saying, I want to make $10 million a year? For what? If my life isn't going to change and the things that I enjoy doing can be done at a $500,000 per year income, like that's the lifestyle I want to live. So that needs to be number one on my goals list, not necessarily the income potential, because I feel like whenever it comes to chronological timeline, the lifestyle comes first and the income follows that. Number two, a damn good dog can fix a lot of problems in life. Doesn't matter if you're having relationship problems, doesn't matter if you're having business problems, doesn't matter if you're having income problems. When you get through a hard, long day of whatever it is you're dealing with, whatever's on your mind, and you go home to a damn good dog, enough said. There's something about that companion that, for me, I will never live without a dog in my life, and I've got a damn good one right now in my German Shepherd, Sitka. Number three, zoom out. Our problems generally aren't even a blip on our 5 or 10-year graph. So what you're dealing with today, the problem that you feel like you'll never be able to overcome or never be able to get over, if you were to zoom out on your life, and instead of looking at things in a 24-hour timeline, a 7-day timeline, a 30-day timeline, hell, even a 1-year timeline, if you start to look at life from a 5, 10, 20-year perspective, on that graph, that problem that you think is so heavy and weighing on your mind and just is going to affect the rest of your life, wouldn't even be a blip on that graph. I think it's a good way to put things into perspective and to put our life's problems into perspectives. And 99% of those problems wouldn't even be a blip on our graph, obviously, aside from major health issues or things like that. Number 4, soak it in. Every minute, the bad times, the good times, and especially the time spent with loved ones. I remember when I was in high school football, we made it to my state championship my senior year, and there was a day leading into that state championship where I was sitting at practice, and we had a very specific practice field that we were still practicing in outside. This would have been November that we were doing this in, and it was Wednesday, Thursday leading up to the Saturday game, and I remember sitting there on the practice field on the sideline and thinking to myself, I will never be in this moment in time again. I will never be around these same people wearing the same football pads and gear, staring at the same view from this practice field again. And for me, I think that was the first time I've ever really taken a minute to soak things in the present time. I remember looking up at the water tower, seeing the sun set, and watching my team practice, Coach Sharts running drills, and just thinking to myself, man, this is the last time I'm going to get to experience this. And I think for so many of us, myself included, when we're living in the present moment, we don't even realize how good we've got it. Each and every day, or each and every experience that we have is a unique experience that for the most part we will never have back in our lifetime. So soak it in. The bad times, when we're broke as hell, when we're having horrible, horrible problems financially, in business, in relationships, when we're sitting there feeling like we're at our lowest, you can almost take the time to say, this is a unique life experience that I will never have the opportunity to feel again, as far as all the factors that go into it. Soak it in. And if it's a bad time, say, I will never be in this situation again, and let that pain drive you to make sure you're never anywhere close to that situation again. Or if it's a good time, soak it in and realize like these are the good old days that everyone talks about. Back whenever I was, again, in high school football, I didn't realize it at the time, but those were some of the most carefree moments of my life. And I look back fondly at the memories I have with those people. And as much as I thought that I was going to be hanging out with the friends that I had at the time, back in high school, I was like, oh, these are going to be my buddies for life. We're going to be hanging out nonstop. Life gets in the way. And I haven't seen a lot of those guys since high school football. And the few that I do still talk to, we get together maybe once a quarter, once every 6 months, but it's nowhere near what I ever would have predicted back in high school. I thought, hell, we're going to see each other every week for the rest of our lives, and that just doesn't happen. And so you have to take each moment and really soak it in. Number 5, be intentional with your environment. So there's a couple subpoints to this, and everyone's heard the saying, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time around. And it's so incredibly true. If you're around 5 people that are all focused on working out and eating healthy, just by being in their presence, without a doubt, you are going to pick up on some of the habits that they have, and you're going to end up being a health and fitness lifestyle-focused person. And so if you think about this, you want to tailor your environment and the people that you hang around based on what your lifestyle goals are. So we go back to number 1 about creating the lifestyle. What is that dream lifestyle? Do you want to work out 2 hours a day? What does your day-to-day look like? And then be very intentional about the people that you spend your life with to make sure that it equates to that lifestyle or adds up to what that lifestyle could be. And this also, when I'm talking about being intentional with your environment, it's also saying that as human beings, we're not meant to be alone. We are social creatures, without a doubt. And some alone time is good, but damn it, we are meant to be surrounded by a group of people, especially people that are like-minded and who do the things that we love to do, who enjoy the things that we love to enjoy. And so for anyone that feels like, man, I spend so much time alone, or I don't feel like I'm hanging around the right crowd, just understand that you can create your own environment. You can create the people that you surround yourself in, the cult or the group that you want to be based on the lifestyle you want to live. Number 6, slow down to speed up. As a guy who lives in fast forward, I've always prided myself on making decisions quickly. And looking back, I think there's a lot of bad decisions I've made that could have been avoided had I just slowed down, had the opportunity to really wrap my mind around a problem or challenge that I was facing, rather than just blowing by it and just trying to make the quickest decision, because I've always thought to myself, and it is true, that any decision is better than no decision. But at the end of the day, you have time to slow down and really deep think on a problem or challenge. And whenever you can take a deep breath and think deeply about things, you're going to end up making a better decision, which comes to number 7. 95% of life's problems can be solved after a good night's sleep. So again, 95% of life's problems can be solved after a good night's sleep. And for someone like me who runs on high emotion, a lot of passion at the time, there's a lot of decisions and a lot of reactions that I make that are based out of emotion. And I've done this really my entire life, and it's something I want to focus on going into my next 30 years, is to take a deep breath. And if I'm having an emotional reaction, if I feel my emotion coming up, whether it be in a relationship or when dealing with someone in business, when I'm frustrated, when I'm pissed, and I feel like I just need to react, to just go home and sleep it off. And the next morning, you realize that the problem, the person, whatever it is that you're mad, frustrated, confused, scared, all of the above, it's not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. And the solution, a lot of times, it ends up almost finding us rather than us finding it. after a good night's sleep. It's like we wake up with a clear mind, clear head, clear heart, and we're able to clearly see things, whereas the day before we were so full of emotion, raw emotion, that we weren't able to get a good picture of where the light at the end of the tunnel is. And so for me, especially, if any of you run hot like I do, run fast, run hot, slow down, take a deep breath, maybe get a good night's sleep, and come back tomorrow to make the decision that's been bothering you all day today. Number 8, it all starts with a solid foundation. And I'm speaking about physical health and our physical bodies here. If you think about a house or think about a high-rise and what they're able to withstand when it comes to straight line wind speeds, hurricanes, even earthquakes and things of that matter, it's mind-blowing to look at some of these structures that we have built as humans and understand that the reason they're able to withstand those things is because the foundation is so incredibly strong. When we think about corn, let's go back to corn because this is a farming show. There is just as much root system below the ground as what you see above the ground. So for every foot of height above the ground you see in a corn stalk, there is just that much below the surface in root system. And that foundation is so incredibly strong, it helps it withstand stresses from weather, stresses from outside forces like insects and disease. It makes it withstand, again, the drought, the floods, whatever it may be. That corn stalk, that house, that high rise is able to withstand all of those things because its foundation is strong. So when we think about ourselves and our physical bodies, we're going to be dealt rough hands throughout the course of our life. We're going to be dealt outside forces, unpredictable pressures that we would never have seen coming. And if our foundation, our physical body is strong enough to withstand that, we can weather the storm without it completely toppling us over or ruining our lives. So whenever bad things come up in business, whenever bad things come up with our health, we think about COVID back to 2020. The people that were best able to deal with getting COVID were the ones that were most physically healthy. And so I feel like COVID was a big eye-opener for a lot of people to get your foundation in order when it comes to our physical health. And I just think it's time to put a priority, really in this entire country, about focusing on our physical health, what we eat, what we take into our bodies, and making sure that we are running at 100% efficiency so we can withstand those unpredictable challenges that are without a doubt inevitably going to arise during the course of our lifetime. Number 9, swing the bat. So what do I mean here? I mean, take the chance. Life is short, right? We've got one life to live. And Jeff Bezos has a quote that I've always really enjoyed, and it's had me thinking about business and sports. A lot of things come back to sports because I was a previous athlete in my prior life. And Jeff Bezos says, we all know that if you swing for the fences, you're going to strike out a lot, but you are also going to hit some home runs. The difference between baseball and business, or you could say life, you could interchange business and life, however, is that baseball has a truncated outcome distribution. When you swing, no matter how well you connect with the ball, the most runs you can get is 4. In business or life, every once in a while when you step up to the plate, you can score 1,000 runs. This long-tailed distribution of returns is why it's important to be bold. Big winners pay for so many experiments. Again, that's a Jeff Bezos quote that I've always really resonated with because I've said it doesn't matter how many times we feel like we have screwed up our life, how many failed opportunities or failed business ventures, failed ideas, failed relationships, whatever it is that we may have failed at, we could be wrong 100 times, 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. But if we're right just once, it has the opportunity to completely change our lives in a dramatic fashion. Like Jeff said, you can score 1,000 runs with one swing of the bat in life or in business. And that's why number 9 of the most important things I've learned in my life up until this point is swing the damn bat. You will never, ever get a hit or find success if your bat rests on your shoulders and you're not swinging it. Number 10, for what I've learned over the last 30 years, life is too short to take things too damn seriously. We live in the best country of all time, the most incredible free country of all time. And almost in every situation we think of, we are all doomsdayers, right? We always think or have fear about the worst case scenario. Have you ever actually thought how bad the worst case scenario could be? I go bankrupt. I lose my business. Whatever it may be. And then what? The worst case scenario really isn't all that bad because we live in America. Like our fail-safe, our backstop is go work a 9-to-5 for a big corporation and make a damn good living, right? Like there's, in the grand scheme of things, when you look across the globe and the quality of life that we live in America compared to other third world countries or what it may be, our worst case scenario, our doomsday event is just living like a normal life, which really isn't all that bad. So if that's the backstop, if that's the doomsday scenario, the worst case scenario, it's really not that bad. So why do we take so-called small problems and make them completely weigh down our life? And I'm speaking to myself here. This is Stephen McBee, almost 30 years old, will be by the time this podcast is released. Stop taking things so damn serious because life is too short and our worst case scenario, living in America, is not that bad. Hey, y'all. Today's episode is brought to you by Ag America, your go-to financial partner for all things agriculture. As the largest independent financial firm dedicated to rural America, Ag America is changing the game of ag, lending and leveling up financing options for farmers, ranchers, and landowners across the nation. And I'll let you in on a secret. The thing that sets this company apart from the rest is the people. They understand firsthand the unique needs of American farmers and ranchers because many of them grew up on the farm themselves. They take a farmer-focused approach to finance, prioritizing relationships over transactions to help you build a stronger financial foundation for your farm and family. So whether you're looking to buy land or secure working capital, Ag America has your back. Visit agamerica.com today to learn more and see how they can help you achieve long-term financial success. Because when farmers thrive, we all do.
Do you know where your meat comes from? You will now with McBee Meat Company's Build Your Own Box. A retail value of $300 worth of melt-in-your-mouth steaks, insanely delicious griller products, high-protein meat snacks, and a free gift of your choice for only $159. These meats are born, raised, processed, and shipped directly from our family farm here in North Missouri. We're one of very few brands in the entire country who can honestly say that every single step in the meat supply chain is owned and controlled by us. We're doing it all, ensuring your meats are born and raised without the use of GMOs, steroids, antibiotics, vaccines, or whatever the hell else they're putting in meat these days. This type of respect and care for animals and the delicious meats that they provide us can only be found on a family farm. And that's why we're damn proud to bring you this Build Your Own Box, available now at the link below. Your purchase directly benefits our family farm and the rural community that we operate in. And so I want to take this time to personally thank you and tell you how much we appreciate any support that you may give if you decide to purchase your meat from us. We do not take it lightly. It means the world, not only to us and our animals, but also the community we live in. Now, let's get back to the podcast.
So those are the 10 things that I really thought of coming into this podcast today. Again, it's a little different than what you'll see on Meet the McBee's. I've just been doing a lot of looking in at my life up until this point, up until these last 30 years and what I've got going into my next 30 years. And there are so many things that I wish I would have changed my outlook on. I wish I would have changed how I lived my life. But hindsight's always 20/20. And so for me, sitting here at 30 years old, I don't consider myself incredibly wise or full of wisdom yet. I want to be there one day. Definitely not there yet. But if there's anyone that's younger than me who has not lived the tremendous amount of life experiences I have lived and been blessed to have lived, if you can take anything from these 10 key points that I've learned and that I want to focus on going into the next 30 years, please do so. If I was to rate my first 30 years and be completely objective at my life up until this point and how I view it as success or failure on a scale of 0 to 10, with 10 being I've lived my full potential. I have outkicked my coverage in every way, shape, and form. Honestly, I'd rate it at a 6.5, maybe. maybe only a 5.5 or a 6. To me, I feel like there is so much potential that I've yet to even come close to tapping into that it bothers me. And really, I think these 10 key points that I've outlined here, I am going to really put a focus and emphasis on doing these things in my next 30 years. And I think for me, that creating a lifestyle rather than an income is been the biggest eye-opening point to me. I spent so much time in my 20s grinding away to try and create an income I thought I needed, when at the end of the day, I missed out on so much life for nothing. Because the lifestyle that I've always dreamed about, hell, I'm pretty much already there as far as personal income goes. So at this point, why would I not start living the lifestyle I want to live? And rather than trying to create this $10 million in personal income that's going to do nothing for me as far as quality of life goes, and it is only for trying to impress or appease outside people or outside forces rather than what truly makes me happy. And I'm not saying that this is some anti-work ethic, go sit on your butt all day long, I just want to do what makes me happy all the time. I'm just saying this has been such a big perspective change for me over the last year and a half as I've been approaching 30, to say that I want to create my lifestyle. If anything prohibits or gets in the way of me living the lifestyle I want to live, why the hell would I do that? And in the short term, there are some sacrifices that must be made. But if you look at it and say, I've got 10 years of doing something I absolutely hate doing, have no interest in doing, just for an income, I really think you need to take a look at your life and understand that there are very, very easy changes that could be made. But it all begins with understanding what is that lifestyle you want to live rather than the income amount you feel like you need to make. And I'm sure you've heard it before, and this is a quote that I'm a big quote guy if you can't tell, but there's a reason the windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror. Windshield is needed to see where you're going and how to get there. You're looking forward to the future. And the rearview mirror is needed to see what's behind you and to learn from it. So this was a bit of a rearview mirror podcast where I'm looking back over the last 30 years of life I've been lucky enough to live and trying to figure out what I'm going to take with me into my next 30 years and hopefully live this penultimate lifestyle that I've always dreamed about living. And I've realized that I'm a hell of a lot closer than I ever thought possible. And really what's been keeping me from living that lifestyle is myself. And so for any of you that feel like maybe the first 30 years of life have not gone the way you've want them to go, I challenge you to really sit down and think about the lifestyle that it is that you want to live, your dream life. And for the most part, you realize that the income required to live that lifestyle is not as much as you would think. And the material things that you feel like you need, I guarantee 2, 5, 10 years down the road, you'll look back and be like, I never needed that material car. I never needed that crazy big mansion. What are you going to do with a 10-bedroom house if you've got you, your wife, and a couple kids? You got 8 bedrooms that you're never going to use. So you think about all these things that you feel like you need, and at the end of the day, to live the lifestyle, the dream that you've always wanted to live, most of the experiences that mean the world to us at the end of the day, money is not as big of a factor as you would think. So guys, again, I know this podcast is a little different. I feel like I've been in my feelings a little bit, approaching 30 years old, and I just wanted to come in, sit down, and create this podcast, again, mostly for myself, but if any of you can take some advice, wisdom, learning lessons from what not to do in the way that you go about your life, I really hope that you can take this podcast and learn from it. If there is something that you liked, a little snippet of wisdom that you may take and share with someone else, I ask that you would please share this podcast. Let people know about what we're doing here at Meet the McBee's. We've got plenty more podcasts coming, a lot of good episodes on the way, and I promise I will not do this too often where I'm sitting in here by myself on a rant. We're going to be bringing in my family, a lot of business partners we work with. We're going to be talking about anything and everything under the sun pertaining to the McBee's. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for riding along with me thus far, and we look forward to my next 30 years. Look forward to your next 30 years. A lot of good things to come.